Hi, Team Flyer. How are you today? We are in September officially. And no, this is not a Wednesday, typical Wednesday Go to Fly episode. We have started here Educational Fridays. We did last month with About Consent with Rosalia Rivera, where you can see in our feed a whole lot about consent, of course, and her videos. So go check those out. And then this month, as you've already seen some previews from here and there, you already know that we have the beautiful Vanessa from Empowering Teaching Podcast and more. And we're going to have two very beautiful episodes specialized in what it's like to be Latinx in the teaching world and how to live your students, and so many more goodies. For those who are new and don't really know much about me, I was also a teacher. I was a language teacher in Spain for 10 plus years, so I have loads of experience. I've never been a teacher here, but I was a teacher volunteer last year right until COVID hit. So I was dealing with like elementary students especially and whatnot. So anyways, all these sorts of details we're definitely going to talk a lot about more because I feel like representation is important. So if you do follow me, you do know that for sure. And then some. So without further ado, hello, Vanessa.
Hi, Ariadna. Thank you so much for having me. Oh my God, I feel so honored. I'm so proud of you for all the work that you're doing out there, all the behind the scenes that people don't get to see. I know how what it takes to produce and to host a podcast. It's a lot, and kudos to you because man, you're doing a lot for our Latino community, and I, as a Latina, appreciate that.
That warms my heart so much because it is, you're right, it is a lot of behind the scene work. It's a lot. I don't not only have one podcast, I have three. For two are very similar, but they're the ones different about horrors with my husband, but still a podcast itself. And every single platform is like for social changes. Like that's the underlining thing with everything that I build. So it's a lot of work that goes behind it, and I appreciate you saying that. But also more than that, just being and like having a couple hours of your time to come and share your story, because I fell in love with you through TikTok because of course, obviously. So I know it's the biggest hit of 2020 when it comes to social media. For those who have been following me for a while, I've known TikTok, or I've been on TikTok since it was Musically for my girls. I have little sisters, and we just have fun with it. But yeah, so scrolling through my feed, you popped up one day, and video after video after video after video, I fell in love with you even more.
Oh, thank
So I
you.
had to reach out.
Thank you so much, Ariadna. Thank you so much. So you found me because of my TikTok, and that's funny because I started that TikTok right when we transitioned from normal school, right, quote unquote normal school, to
Exactly.
remote learning or remote teaching, however you want to call it, and I was like desperate. I was like, how am I gonna teach my content? What am I gonna do? How am I gonna? Oh my gosh, I know my kids. I know my kids are. They are not gonna want to read long emails. They're not gonna want to write, pay attention to a boring lesson. So, and I have to say that oh my gosh, it's bad saying this, but I hated TikTok because I was like, you are taking away my students' attention. Like I was like, what is the obsession with this? Why I couldn't understand that. And when I was desperate, I was like, I need to do something. I was like, okay, I know they like TikTok, so I downloaded it, and I was like, let me just. I downloaded, and I started to use it to teach them, to send them messages, to do something funny that I knew, right, it would resonate with them, or to explain even instruction. Like I use it to explain instruction, to present a project, to write, and it was a hit with them. Like I will create and make other things, but wherever I put into a TikTok, they watch it entirely. They got it, and I was like, whoa, like
This is powerful.
yeah. But of course, we're not gonna talk. We're not gonna talk about that. But
No,
that's
exactly.
the story
But
behind the TikTok at Empower Teaching Podcast as well. That's how.
exactly. But then you went, you transition, because I've never, like, I remember talking to you and you're like, oh yeah, I did instructions with them. I'm like, I've never seen those. I've
I
seen the more behind the scenes of like self-love and empowerment and what's it like, what's today's topic, being a teacher, being a Latin teacher in US, obviously. So I've seen more of those, and I love that spark.
Thank you so much. I want to say that I put myself out there in social media. I do because I love to share with others. I feel that I reached a point 3 years ago, or yeah, more than 3 years ago, when I started the Instagram and the podcast and all of this. I feel that I reached a point where you feel accomplished, you feel good, right? You feel, wow, I feel good about myself. And then when you get there, you are like, I have to share this with others. I want to bring, because you want to bring everyone with you. I was like, I want everybody to be up here with me, right? Feeling empowered, happy, and motivated, right? Dreaming big. And so I turn into social media. I turn into Instagram. I turn into my podcast to share that. And I do that once because one, because I like to share as I like, and two, I do it because, so when I first started, I wouldn't see anybody like me. When I first started, I followed all the teachers, and all of the teachers were white, and know that there is nothing wrong with that, but I just wouldn't see any minority teachers. I wouldn't see anybody, right, different. And I was like, it's uncomfortable. It's really like intimidating when you know you are quote unquote different, because we're all different, right? But I mean different than most. Um, you are like, yeah, but I'm not like her, or I'm not like him. I don't have a, like I don't have blonde hair, or I don't have my classroom right, all Pinterest perfect decorated. I'm not like them. But I wouldn't find people like me. So I started to share and to write to the podcast and this and the other thing, and I love it, and I love it because so people go up to my Instagram or to my podcast or to my Gmail or to my right to anything, to my mail, and say, man, thank you. Like when I saw you, I identify with A, identify with B. I'm just like you. I'm from Colombia. I'm from Venezuela. I'm from El Salvador. I'm from and hi, and I'm like, hi. I'm just like you. Like it's so good to find people who you can identify with, and this is where we're going to, what we're gonna talk about.
Exactly. And I love that feeling because it's like that's how I started the Always Believer and our movement Go to Fly and all these sorts of things to like make sure that we're not alone. Because we're not, like there has to be more representation out there as well. And even though I just moved from Spain last year, even though it feels like a more than just a year away or just a year ago, better said, sorry. Um, I'm still fairly new to the scene. So when I was volunteering, for example, I would get that comment a whole lot. It's like, oh, no one looks like us. Like, oh, there you have like people who aren't Spanish natives teaching Spanish in an emerging school, and all these sorts of things kind of rised up. And I'm like, we have to bring more awareness to this because those teachers are like that look like ourselves
So
have to
when you are
unite.
minority, I feel that wherever you go and wherever you find yourself, whether it is in a classroom, whether it is at a restaurant, or whether right, wherever public place that you find yourself in, that's one of the first things I noticed. I go, oh, everybody's white. That's one of the first things I noticed, right? Or when you go to a place like that and you see those two or three people that you go, oh my God, they are Latino. You go like, oh, I don't go right because you don't want to be the weird, like, oh, hey, hi. But I just go like, I'm like, oh my God, okay, hi. I'm saying this and I don't want people to think that, oh my God, I love white people. I have to say this, my husband is white.
My husband's also white, which is like, I know.
Listen, he's from the White Mountains of New Hampshire. He's as white as he can be.
Mine's from Massachusetts, also as white as you can be.
So, so, so no, it's not that. It's just that it's hard. It's hard to be part of the few, right? It's hard because you don't feel supported, because right, you don't feel that you have your people there with you. You don't feel that you have your power there too with you. And that's what I go through as an adult. Like whenever I show up to a place, and whenever right, it's a meeting, it's a, I don't know, a congregation, a workshop, whatever it is. And if I can spot that one or two or three Latinos, or African American or Asian, or right, I go, all right, there are people like me here, and automatically you feel better. Automatically you feel like, okay, let me hear what you have to say.
And I
And
feel like your process as well, when we were talking about all this, is that not only do you feel it like when you go to the workshops, conferences, and things like that, or a restaurant even, but we also have to show up for each other, I think, in social media as well to see like, oh, there's actually a lot more of us than we think. Because if we don't speak up, then we're all backed in a corner being like, I'm the only one here.
Ariana, you said something very key there. Oh, there is actually more of us. Yes. And that's what we need to show up. Yes, there's a lot of us. And by showing up and by speaking up, by doing this, what we're doing is how we encourage and inspire others like us to show up and to write, hey, let us see your face, let us hear your voice, let us hear what you have to say, right? To break those stereotypes. Hey, I no longer have to look like this or talk like this or be like this. I can just show up unapologetically as I am. And if you like it, if you like what I have to say, wonderful. If you don't, please move out of my way because I'm coming through. Right? Like, please.
Exactly. And I talk about it all the time. Not only like right now we're definitely focusing on teaching because I feel like that's such an important topic to talk about. But I talk about it when we see people like in the media, so like on a TV show, things like that, that we have to like show up for one another within the Latinx community because whatever show just that comes out, we should all support it because it's like, oh my god, this is run by Latinos, or at least we have even if it's only one Latinx like main character, you know what I mean? But showing up for one another and like immediately I feel like we both had that connection as well because I started following you, but I'm like, oh, she's like me, not only because she was a teacher, or in my case I was a teacher, you're still one of course, but because we look like each other, or we're representing this the minorities. It's like, of course I'm going to give you that follow, of course I'm going to share whatever I can with any of the platforms, because why not? I'd rather stand up for you and show up for you because I'm showing up for us,
Exactly.
period.
Yep. Yep. And so when you take this into a school scenario, when you take this into um, a middle school, elementary school, a high school. I teach high school. I teach Spanish 9 to 12 at a small science school in New England. It's a magnet school. My school is a magnet school, and I love it because to get into my school, we have a lottery system. So you either get lucky or you don't, right? So we don't choose who come to us. So I love it because we have kids who come from all parts of the state. I have kids who drive hour and 15 minutes one way to be at my school because that's how much they like my school. They like the school. I shouldn't say my school.
One day.
Our school. Um, and so I love that. I love that because in my classes, like I have diversity. I do. Although I have to say most of our student body, I want to say more, maybe 60 to 70%, to a good 70%, they are white. But then you have that 30% that are, a mix of Latino, African American, Asian, and all the other races. And when you take this to a scenario, think about that kid think about that minority kid who walks for the first time into his classroom or into her classroom or into their classroom, right? And they are gonna see it in a classroom that is mostly filled by white kids. When they see that teacher that looks like them or like their relatives or that speaks or have this accent like them or like their relatives, I promise you, they automatically feel 50% like 50% more of grace. Walking into a classroom is petrifying for anybody for the first time, right? Walking into a classroom for the first, second, or third is petrifying for anybody. Whether you are the teacher or the student, it doesn't matter. Everybody's nervous. Everybody's like, oh my God, right? What's about to happen? And when they walk in and have a body that they can identify with, they're gonna feel support. They're gonna feel like, oh, she's got my back. She's gonna get my back. And it's important. It's so important, and I notice it. I noticed this like on perhaps year 1 or 2 of teaching, and then a couple years ago, I had a student who taught me this, the importance of, oh man, we need more minority teachers in education because so I had her as a freshman, right? She came into my school. She was Latino. She had this big curly afro hair that
Mm.
I thought it was the most beautiful
It is the most
white
beautiful thing.
hair. And so she's been in my class for a few weeks, and we haven't like click yet. But after 2 or 3 weeks, I noticed that she came in with her hair down. She always had her hair up in a ponytail, like you could never see it. But these specific days, she came in with her hair down. And for the first time, I got to see her hair. And I was like, oh my God, we're going to call her Anita. Anita, I love your hair. You look so beautiful. She's like, really? Oh my God, I'm sorry. I didn't have time to do my hair today. And I was like, what? Wait, what do you mean sorry? What are you apologizing for? She's like, oh yeah, I do my hair every day because you see my hair, senora. It's not like the hair of the other girls in the school. It's not like their hair. My hair is really puffy. And I was like, who cares? Your hair is beautiful. It's not like them. It doesn't have to be. Anita, no, your hair is so beautiful. So next class, what I did for Anita was like, so I went on internet and I found a bunch of pictures of models and actresses that had like their hair like Anita, right? Because at that moment I realized, oh man, she feels bad for having the hair that she has, and how sad is that, right? She feels that she's not good enough just because of the hair. So I went and I printed out these pictures of models and actresses and Hollywood people, and like people who have done big things, right? People that I was like, they look like her. And I walked in and I was like, check out Anita. And she was like, what is this? And I'm like, what do they all have in common? And she's like, well, it was obvious, right? She's like, well, they're her. And I'm like, exactly. And see, and they are big people. That's a president, that's a model, that's an actress, that's right. And they have your hair. Like they shine and they got to get where they are, and they have your hair. They embrace their hair. So see, I remember her like laughing and getting all red in her cheeks.
In your
And
cheeks,
she was
yeah.
like, I was forgetting the word, and she was like, I can't believe you did this for me. I can't believe, like, why you did this. Because I want you to see that you are not the only person in the world with this hair. You're not the only, like, right? You don't have to look like the other girls. Just look like you, be like you. And she's in the rest of the year. The most beautiful thing is that the rest of the year she started to wear her hair down more and more, right? And we had an amazing year, or so I thought, right? I thought that she had a great year. And then at the end of the year, she came in, and I remember that at the end of the year, we do this activity at our school with other advisories where we give kids thank you cards, and they um, write a thank you card. They have to write a thank you card to anyone in the building. Anyone. It can be anyone, like a teacher, another student, an administrator, one
A
of
janitor, a lunch lady.
anybody, right? That's the activity. And I remember that she came in, she was like, I already used the thank you card, that we did for our activity, but I asked my grandma to buy me another one, and I wrote you this one. And I was like, oh, thank you. But I thought it was just a thank you. Hey, thank you for the year, right? See you next year. No, she was like, I'm leaving, right? I'm leaving. I'm going back to
Oh,
my district. And I was like, why? And she was like, because, senora, there are not a lot of people in here who look like me. There are not a lot of people in here.
oh,
You were the only person in the building who looks like me. You're the only person in the building who and I'm not the only one. There are more, but that wasn't enough for her. And that broke my heart. And I remember
that's
being
breaking my heart right now.
oh, she wrote me the cutest thank you card. I should go, and I feel like going and bringing it out and read it.
Yeah, sure, of course.
So I wanted to read the card that she wrote me, and then explain further. So, right, she came in, she said goodbye to me. I remember that I got several cards that day, and I didn't sit down to read them until I got home because I knew I was gonna cry. Every time I read these things, you cry. So she wrote to Senora Cronin from, we're gonna say she's Anita. She says, I want to thank you for showing me so much kindness throughout the school year. It meant a lot to me because it was pretty hard to fit in. Again, she right? Our kids think this, that they have to fit in, that they have to be
They don't.
like like him or like her or like them, right? It was pretty hard to fit in. But thanks to you, you always light up my day when I'm in your class. You are one of the most amazing teachers I have ever met, and the fact that you love your job and students, it's amazing. And it really helped me because you have such a passion. I'm going to be really sad that I may not see you again, but I really wish you the greatest things in life. You're a student, we're gonna say Anita, and she says, P.S. Thank you for supporting me too! Exclamation point. So this letter broke my heart, right? Because I thought that I did everything that was in my power to convince Anita that one, she doesn't have to fit in, and that two, that she's loved and respected and wanted for who she is. That's one of my personal goals as a teacher. Goal number one: make everybody feel loved. That's it. That's my goal number one. Like that's not written on the goals that I do, right? We teachers have goals every year. It's not there, but it's my own personal one. And so I fell at that. I fell at that because if I would have done it like I wish I did, she will still be at my school actually. This was just a couple years ago, so she will be going, I think, in her junior year.
Mm.
But that's the thing. You're gonna do everything and anything that you can to demonstrate those kids that they are loved, that they are respected and accepted and embraced for who they are. And sometimes it's not gonna be enough. Sometimes it's not gonna be enough because unfortunately we cannot reach every single kid. You can't. It doesn't matter. You still do it. You still do it. Like that broke my heart. You cry your tears and you say, I don't care. Next year I will do the exact same thing and maybe even better if I can, right? But my point with this is that I know that we had a student leave my school because she didn't feel that she could fit in because she felt that there wasn't. I knew why. She told me, because senora, there are no many people like you and I here. There are no many people, right? I cannot identify, and that's important. If that is important for you or for me, right? We're orals and we're talking about how much we love as minority people, as minority women, when we go anywhere and we can find people like us. That feels so good. Imagine for a kid how important it is to find a teacher, an educator, a counselor, an administrator that they can say, she looks like my mom, she looks like my tío, she looks like my abuela. Imagine how important that is.
And how empowering as well, because that's why we need more representation and like show up for one another, even through social media in that particular sense, like teachers, like Afro Latinas and all these sorts of things showing up, because it also goes to show you that even if you're immigrant here, even if you were born here but are from an immigrant family or whatever generation you are, you can actually become a teacher, you become a vice
Yeah.
principal, you can become a director, you can become all
Oh my
these
God.
things. You don't have to stay, no offense to people like who work in a grocery by any means or these kind of jobs, but you don't have to stay in that position. That you can just see yourself reflected, because being a teacher is so powerful. Like I love teaching and I'm happy doing what I'm doing currently, of course, but I understand the power, the message behind and the magic that comes with it, just helping a student.
Ariana, you're so right. Um, this is, you just remind me of one time I had a student, a freshman again. I remember that we were about to start our grade whole meeting. It was the first few days of school. This is like the third year, maybe this is like 3 years ago, I think. And I remember her coming to me, like running and kind of like moving through the crowd. She said, "Hey, hi, I am, what can I call her? Rosie, right? Hey, I'm Rosie." And I'm like, "Oh, hi, Rosie." She's like, "Oh my God, you're Colombian, right?" And I'm like, "Yes, I am." "Oh, so is my mom, so is my tia, so is, right? So are my tias. Like, I can't believe you're Colombian and you are a teacher here." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm a teacher." She's like, "But it's just weird because you are Colombian and you are a teacher here." In right, but I understand. Wait, you're Colombian and you, right, you're there. I've never seen a Colombian being as an educator. I feel like that's what she was telling me, right? She was so excited, freshman, first few days of school. I don't know who told her. She wasn't in my roster. She wasn't my student for that specific year, but somebody must to tell her when I walked by, oh, hey, you're Colombian. So is Senora Cronin, who's a teacher here. And she got so excited and came and introduced herself just because she was like, you're Colombian? Those two phrases, like you're Colombian and you are a teacher here. Like those two phrases stood up with me forever. Oh my God,
I
you're
know.
Colombian, one, and you are a teacher here. As an, how is that even possible? How do you become a teacher when you are Colombian? In the same way that any white teacher does it, by studying, by working hard. If I can,
Exactly.
look at you, kiddo. Look at me. Like I love that you said that, Diana, because they need to be able to see people like them get into places where perhaps most people like us have not get yet.
Exactly. Not just yet. We're climbing in. It's been really difficult in this country because one hasn't not basically. And it's insane because we're still all immigrants. We all have a different story, but we have the same underlining feeling or message. We're moving because we know we can still live better here than what we have back at home. And no, that means no disrespect by any means. I mean, we love Venezuela in my case, of course I do. But if you know anything about Venezuela, you're like, Ariadna, you're good living somewhere else. You know what I mean? So
Are you kidding me? I love Colombia. Colombia is in my heart. I love it. I have to go every year to visit my mom. Everybody's there. I'm the only one in my humongous family who was crazy enough to think that this was a good idea. I still think it's a good idea that I moved to the States. They argue with me that. They always argue with me like, no, you don't have to. You still be doing just as well up here, like, right? But but no. Sometimes don't they ask you that? Oh, so what do you love the most? USA or Venezuela? What do you? I don't like when people ask me that
me
because I'm like,
neither.
you can choose one. Please don't ask me to choose either America, Colombia, because that is like asking Amon, hey, which one of the two kids, you will pick?
Exactly. I
Which one would
agree.
you want to pick, or which one is your favorite? Like a mom never says this one is my favorite, or that one, or perhaps some moms do. I have seen it. But mom's mom, right? I wouldn't do that.
Exactly. You love them equally. You're like, they both have the pros and the cons. Definitely. I get the same question also because I have Spain in the mix. So it's like, which do you prefer of the three? And I'm like, who cares? Who really cares? There's a reason why I'm here, not in Spain. Is there? So there. So
I
that's
love
that.
Colombia. I'm so proud of it. Wherever I go, I feel that I grew 1 or 2 inches every time I say I am from Colombia because I like saying it. But 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 I love USA. This is the country that I choose to live. Oh my God, I feel so honored to call myself a citizen. I love USA. I love them. You love them both with as much intensity, but there are just different. It's just different kinds of love. That's
It's
all.
different kinds of love and it's different kinds of everything. It's different kinds of culture and laws and things like that. So I completely understand. I really do. Especially, we're not going to get too deep into that conversation, but I know that I understand because they're like, there's a lot of questions that, like, with that one, or like, where do you prefer to live, or which one's easier to live in? They're like, and I'm like, that's just no.
The
To
other
each their
thing
own, you know.
yes. Now that we're talking about that, the other thing that I love as a minority teacher, and I hope our conversation is inspiring any minority student right now, any minority person who's thinking to go into teaching, to know that hey, they need me, we need you, like we need you.
We need you.
Yes, when you are a minority teacher, kids tend to get more curious about you. When you are an immigrant, right? They get curious about you and they go, "Tell me how you did that. Tell me how you. Oh, so how do they do it in Colombia? Oh, so what did you used to watch? So what did you used to do when you were a kid, right? And
I
that
love
helps
that.
make a stronger connection with you because you're different. So it's like, hey, use your differences, use all the background, all the story that you have to teach your content. Kids want to know who you are. They don't eat right. Teachers, if you ask a kid, if you ask a kid, what do you think about teachers? Oh, they're boring. Teachers, oh, they suck. That's what a teenager will tell you about teacher. You got to be somehow interesting for them. right? You got to, so getting all those stories, talking to them about your family, about your upbringing, it's inspiring to them, and it's
Plus, what I
fascinating.
love about that, actually, that you mentioned it, is because you teach another culture. Because I was a language teacher in Spain, so obviously I taught English in Spain in my particular case, and Spanish for foreigners. Um, and certain schools were like, where are you from? And I had to say from the States specifically. My accent obviously shows the fact that I'm from here, but at the same time, like, oh, you can't be from Venezuela, you have to be from, which I understand certain norms. So it's kind of, so they're not like, oh, but like in a lot of jobs in Spain, or probably many different countries, you want them just to speak Spanish with you. I mean, sorry, English in this case with you. So they're like, just be from like this English speaking country. That aside for a quick hot second, they were so enticed with like learning about the states and the culture and when do we go out, what's the age to drive a car, to drink, or to for college, all these sorts of things. And of course, I did grow up here, even though I grew part of my life was here, part of my life was in Spain. Growing up, still I know a lot about the states, so it's like doing the kind of the same thing that you're doing with Colombia, just kind of crisscross it in Spain with the U.S. If And I love that because a lot of the times the parents were like, "Oh my God, you're also teaching culture with them." We talked
Yeah,
about Thanksgiving, and of course, the pros and the cons behind it, but that's very particular to this country. Not all these sorts of things that I absolutely loved and adored to teach, because they're seeing me more than just a teacher. They're like, oh, you can actually teach us English, of course, in this case, but you can also teach us about that culture through funs and games and whatnot.
yeah. Kids always like to know who's the teacher behind the teaching dress or behind the tie or the suit. They want to know who's the person. So for them, of course, you'll have the students who will, no matter what, want to learn, do well, right? But then you will have the kind of students who are in your classroom because they have to. So sorry to hear this, but they are in your classroom because they have to, because they have no other choice. I shouldn't say because they have to. I should say because they have no other choice. They need your class to move to the next level. They don't want to be there. They don't care about math. They could care less about social studies, about right presidents or whatever subject you or Spanish or right. They don't want to be there. They are there because they have to. And when you show your kids who you are, when you tell them, hey, I once, I don't know, sat on top of a frog and I freak out, or I once ate, I don't know, something weird, and you made them laugh, and you let them see who you are, you let them see the human in you, right? Because I don't know, it's like they think that we were born teachers.
Exactly. We don't do anything else but teach, and we have no lives.
When you let a kid see the human and go, oh, they open their eyes bigger and they light up and they go like, oh my God, you laugh. Sometimes, right? But sometimes I'm teaching something and I'm trying to keep my serious face and somebody says something funny, right? And I used to like clench on my teeth and not laugh because I can't laugh. And right now, right? Before I was like, I'm the authority. You all respect me, right? But now I'm more like, if it was so funny, right? And half of my classes are already laughing, half of I already love them. I have to break character and just laugh with them. And so when you laugh with them, they go like, oh my God, she also thought it was funny. And so for them, it's even funnier. Like if you, the teacher, think something is funny, for them, it becomes to us as funnier. Like, and they laugh and right and you connect with them. Once you have connected with them, once they know who what kind of human you are, or what are your characteristics, or what makes you you, they're gonna go, all right, let me hear what you have to say. I hate this class, I hate this subject, but you're kind of interesting. Like, you make me laugh, think, cry,
Mm-hmm.
reflect. Let me see what you have to say. Even though I don't want to be here, even though I don't want to learn this, let me hear it, right?
I agree. I have a couple more things to a comment for you specifically and a question before we wrap up, because I know it's almost time. You also pointed a lot with your TikToks, going back 2 seconds on that, but this is why I love them. This is why like fell in love with your content. You talked a lot about your accent, for example, among other things, among like your grammar correction and all these things that we can talk more about in the next episode. But regardless of that, right now, your accent. And when I said, people are like, oh my God, you're Colombian, you're a teacher. you're also giving voice and strength to people's like, oh, I don't have to have the perfect accent. I can actually have, you can
I
actually
like
have,
to go
go
ahead.
ahead. Go ahead, my love.
I like where you're going, Ariana. I like where you're going because so I didn't honestly started talking about my accent until probably 6 months ago. Um, Publicly, the way I do it on my TikTok. In today in September 2020, I will talk about my accent to whoever because it took me literally years to learn to accept first and then embrace my accent. I used to feel embarrassed because of it. Because before coming to the States, I used to make a living as a radio speaker. I was part of a radio show in Colombia, right? And then I came here and I didn't know any English. This is 13 years ago, zero English, right? And so it's like all of a sudden they took away all my work. Like think about that. Like when you move to another country, that speaks a different language than you is like somebody. I felt that somebody came in and stole all my words, tucked it away, and I was mute. I couldn't talk. And then I started to learn English, right? And slowly and little by little, right, I started to speak, but still I felt embarrassed and ashamed of it because I was too focused trying to learn the perfect English. I was too focused trying to sound like an American, right? And I hated my accent, and I'm a talker, right? We are talkers. We have a podcast, so I will show up to places or meet people, and I will choose not to talk so that people would not hear my accent because I'm like, oh, as soon as I open my mouth, people's gonna be like, oh, just got an accent. Where are you from? Right? I love again saying, hey, I'm from Colombia. I will say that 75 million times a day if I have to, but I just hated it. I hated sounding different, and then people started to say to me, you sound like Sofia Vergara, right? They started to compare me. You sound like Sofia Vergara. I was a waitress, and my tables would be like, you sound like Sofia Vergara. You sound like Sofia Vergara. And I love Sofia Vergara. I was like, oh my God, I love her.
Who
You know,
doesn't?
and God bless her. Listen, God bless Sofia Vergara because today I think that she is the one who taught America that having an accent, it was okay. I think that she is the person who taught America, hey, having an accent, it is okay. And so I was like, and then you reach the point where you are like, no, what am I doing with my life? Like I have an accent, so I educated myself, right? And I remember when I learned the fact that, so how it works is that the muscles of your tongue start developing when you turn 12. So if you start to learn a new language at 12 years old, you are more likely, right? I think the chances are like 98 point something percent, I don't remember, but you're more likely to always have an accent. And I came to the States way after 12 years old, okay? In my early 20s. So I was like, say what? You're telling me that I am always going to have an accent forever and ever? That I'm never going to sound like an American? No. I remember throwing a fit and being like, no, this can't be. And then being like, all right. Then you accept it, right? Then you accept it and you go, you know what? I'm going to embrace it. I'm going to embrace it. I have an accent and so why can't I do anything about it? And here we are, and that's why I do this, because I want people who hear me to say to be okay with themselves, because if I show up and if I do this, please do you and be you. Who cares what you sound like? Who cares what you look like? So today I can literally and honestly tell you, Ariadna, I love my accent. It's
And
part of who I am. It's what makes me me.
I adore that so much because, well, one, people are like, oh, you're definitely from the States, because I know my accent, but like I grew up here, so it's normal. My Spanish accent is mixed. That everyone knows, of course. But for me, it's so important because I am bilingual like you are. And whether you know two languages or five or seven or 10, you are so worthy. People are like, there's some people that thought the same way as you, like, oh, I'm not gonna speak because I have an accent, or like I don't know how to say it properly, but at least you know a different language than the person you're talking to. And then when
Yeah.
they mock you, because they've mocked me with my accent, they're like, "Oh, how come you have like a perfect accent if you're not from here?" And I'm like, "Dude, what do you want me to do? Have an accent? Like, what is wrong with you?" Plus,
Right,
I'm
that's it.
bilingual, and
You
even
can
if
never
you're not,
put them all.
and
Oh, why do you have an accent? Wait, why don't you have an accent? Oh my God.
exactly, and
Because
then it's just the way that your voice makes, like it's just the sound, and not only that with like the accent, which I never understood why it's such a big deal, but even if you're not fully bilingual, because maybe you have some grammar mistakes, I probably have some grammar mistakes in Spanish even, we still know another language. We are still able to listen to things in English or in a different language, read, write, communicate. So it's more props to those, even if you have broken down English or Spanish or whatever language, it gives you more power and strength. It's something that can bring you up rather than take you down.
you said it. You said it because having being bilingual is a superpower.
It is.
It's
It so is.
being bilingual. It's a superpower. I bought a sticker from a teacher who um I collaborate with on Instagram, and she makes these cute stickers, and one of them said that being bilingual is my superpower. I bought it and I stick it on my son's little iPad that they gave him for school this year, and I glue it because I wanna engrave that on him. Like, this is what you have. That's good. That's really powerful. You're bilingual. You're bilingual. Say it. And I tell him, say it. He says, I know that, mama. I'm bilingual. I'm bilingual. I'm bilingual. I'm like, that's a good thing. Don't be ashamed of that.
That's such a gift because I didn't know it was this bad until I moved back because like I said, I spent 16 years in Spain. That's part of my teenagehood. That's a big part of my adulthood, and or like moving up to adulthood basically, point being. So I was always bilingual and I was always proud of it, and I'm like, oh, of course I know English and of course I know Spanish. But then you come here and all of a sudden you hear a million stories and I'm like, how, why, no, I mean, and I get it because even you, I know you, oh, I forgot his name, the Dr. Medina, I think that's
José
his name.
Medina Hernández Jr., Joe Lopez Diaz Cruz, Lucia Soprano, you
Ese
know.
mismo. Exactly that one. Like, I get the history behind it and I get being bullied and all these sorts of things, but we're still trying to promote, and this is why this podcast is about, and like this movement of just like promoting that you are bilingual and it's a superpower of its own.
Yes.
And then
That's why we need to keep doing this, because people need to see more people like us. People need to hear more people like us. It's time that our beautiful America that we love, get used to us. Like, we are just like you. We can get to the same places. It's time. It's time.
it's time. We're done
For the
making you
longest.
feel comfortable. It's time for us to be comfortable in our skin. And if that makes you uncomfortable, then so be it. And that actually wraps up with my last question to you. What's your message? Where can we find you, of course? And yeah, those two main questions. Where can we find you? What's your message?
What's my message? Oh, that's a good question. What's my message? My message is that I hope that, whatever you are listening from, um, I hope that you find the courage to show up just as you are. I hope that you find the courage to be whoever in the world you are, and to say unapologetically, this is me, and this is what I got to give world. If you like who I am, and if you accept me, and if you, that's wonderful, and if you don't, that's wonderful too. I'm to love and accept and embrace my own self. And when you do that, everybody comes to you. When you show up, and when you you unapologetically there to be you, you find your people. You truly do. And where can you find me? I am on my Instagram. I feel that I am the most active at Empower Teaching Podcast. Also, my podcast, you can find it anywhere, in iTunes, Spotify, whatever you don't know your podcast. It is Empower Teaching Podcast. If you want to get in touch with me, talk, collaborate, I'd love to. Please send me an email at empowerteachingpodcast@gmail.com. Ariadna, thank you so much for all this work that you're doing. Is really wonderful and empowering to bump into humans like you that are just doing this just from the goodness of their hearts, and to, just to somehow put our little seed in the world. Thank you so much.
Thank you for being here. I know this is part one. We have the next part on September. Now I'm like looking at dates, of course. Had it 2 seconds ago. September 25th. There you go. Sorry for that. And I love talking to you. I love promoting you. I love showing your TikToks and sharing them. And beyond that, I love your podcast, of course. I've heard every single episode so far. Can't wait to hear more. And we'll stay in touch, of course, with all here with Team Fire and whatnot. So thank you very much for being here today.
Thank you. Thank you.
See you back here with Vanessa on September 25th. Bye.